Hello everyone, I hope you're all well. I hope this video on Tuesday finds you well. I thought I'd pop by and create another video. I'm trying to do a few seasonal makes and I'm trying to mix things up, but mixing in a few seasonal makes at the same time so that we're all ahead of the game and that we've got a few ideas. I have been asked a few times if I can not forget to show my workshops on YouTube. So this was the workshop that we did this weekend. It was actually done in a different colour scheme originally, and I did it in this colour scheme for a different set of colours. And this video is in the workshop. The workshop is called Fragile Fragments, and at the moment I've got 60 workshops. And at the moment, until November, it's buy one, get one free. No, it isn't. It's buy one, get one half price. What am I like? It's buy one, get one half price. Now, if you go to Facebook and you look up Tracy Evans, you've got my personal page here, and then you've got my group here. If you click on the group, it then shows you Tracy Evans, Craft Addicts, Create, Share and Inspire. And it's, even if I say so myself, it's a lovely, friendly group. And honestly, everybody in there is so helpful. They're just wonderful. And I'm just scanning through a few pages and I'll just show you the album. Let's hope that it's near the top. There it is. There's an album in the group that's online workshops available, and it's under the media tab. And I often keep it at the top of the wall, and it's got 60 workshops in there. And if you click on it, each of the workshops has got a price and a description. And at the moment, it's, as I said, it's buy one, get one half price. And I've kept that offer on until the end of November as a thank you, because my followers have just been amazing. You've all been amazing. Your support's been wonderful. And that's why I do the YouTube videos as well, to also give some ideas for those of you that have purchased my stamps. You know, I really appreciate your support. Now, one thing I haven't got, I didn't pick up some of my infusions. So I'm just picking up a little bit of a packet of infusions. Now, with this workshop, I'm going off the cuff. I'm just going with the flow. And what I've got my colours, and I've picked some colours that I used at the weekend because I thought that's a good starting point. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my 6-inch round jelly plate. Now, if you don't have a gel plate, then you just blend the colours and do it in a different way. And what I'm going to do, there's 2 pieces of acetate on the gel plate, or the gel press, whichever you want to call it. And I'm just going to place mine onto my A4 acrylic block from AALLandCreate. Just get rid of some of those air bubbles. But I'm just going to place it on the AALLandCreate acrylic block, and I just place it on an acrylic block because it's easier for me to handle. And it's often easier if you put it in the middle, Tracy. So it's just a little bit easier for me to handle that way. And I can see exactly what I'm doing and I can handle it a lot easier. And what I've got here is I've got a spare piece of scrap card just so I can brayer off some colours. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give some ideas with our Distress Oxide inks, just to vary it up a little bit. You know I love my paints, but I just want to vary it up a little bit. Now, the colours I've got are Twisted Citron, Tumbled Glass, Shaded Lilac and Cracked Pistachio. Now, really, all these colours are quite subtle. Apart from this, this was probably a bit of a stronger colour, but these are quite delicate in colours. So I'm going to use those colours. I will go through each time I use the colours. I'm just going to put them at the top of the screen because they're a little bit easier to handle. Now, because my gel press is 6 inches, it's a 6-inch circular, I've cut a piece of white smooth card 6.5 inches square. And what I'm going to do, I need to grab a paint palette. So we'll just grab a paint palette. this is what happens when you do things off the cuff, because there's certain things you need that you haven't got ready. But I like to do things sometimes off the cuff, just to go with the flow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Twisted Citron Distress Oxide ink. Let me see if I can do this in camera. And I'm just going to brayer that Distress Oxide ink onto my brayer. And I'm just moving it along my brayer, just so that you can see I've got that colour on there. And this has got it's a pigment dye fusion, so it's got an opaque quality and the colours layer beautifully. Now what I want to do is I want to brayer off any excess colour, just so I don't mix them too much. Now on the camera you'll hardly see anything, but I'm actually brayering the colour off, and it is actually, there's a little bit of a subtle hint of colour on there, and I don't want that when I'm putting the other colours on. So that was Twisted Citron. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to pick up some tumbled glass, and tumbled glass is a very subtle colour, so I'm brayering and making sure that I've got plenty of that colour on there. And I'm just going to bray it. I'm not going to cover up all of the green, and I'm just going to bray the excess off. I don't know how this is going to turn out, but I love a little bit of an experiment. Then I'm going to use Shaded Lilac. Now my ink pad is very juicy, so I'm not going to add too much. And I'm just going to flick that on there. Just flick some of that purple on there. And then just brayer off the excess. The good thing about the Distress Oxides as well is they stay wet on the gel press for quite a while. So that's quite handy. So I'm just going to take a little bit of the Cracked Pistachio. And again, just a little light flick, and just brayer off the excess. But can you see, just from brayering off the excess, I've got a very subtle, lovely background on there, which is amazing really. So just brayer that like so. Then what I want to do is I want to take the star stencil, and I can just decide where I want to place that. So I'm just going to place that star stencil just on there like so. And then with this spare piece of card that I've got, I'm just going to remove some of the colour from the open areas. Just from the open areas of the stars. Oh, and I'm already making a beautiful background on this piece that we're going to have to use. Oh, just, I love creating. Look at that for a background. And that's just the brayered off piece. Oh, I love it. I just love it. So we've also got ink on here as well. So let's just see. I've got that many things now, my mind's whizzing. So can you see we've got those stars on there, like so. I'll worry about the stencil in a minute. Let's just do this one that we're supposed to be doing, because I'm terrible and I go off on 25 million tangents. And what I've got is I've got some infusions, just a little bit of infusion in there. Doesn't matter if you use brushos or if you use infusions, that's your choice. No problem at all. It's about experimenting. And what I'm going to do is just, I know some people keep these in pots and then just reactivate them, which you can do. But I've got my, let's move this out of the way. I don't want to ruin that background. Another scrap of card. Let's just take this white scrap of card like so. And I'm going to dip this fan brush in here, and I'm just going to just tape off the excess, and then I'm just going to add just some of those brushos just here and there, So dip it in again. Take off the huge amount, just so you get lighter splatters. There we go. I don't think we need anything more. We don't want to overpower it. I can clean that brush afterwards. Let's move this out of the way. And let's just get a little wipe just to remove that. Just remove around this edge just to tidy up my acrylic block a little bit more, just so that we don't get anything where we don't want it. Just so that you can see that. There we go, that shows nicely. So I've got my 6.5 inch piece, spit it out, of white card. And what I can do now is I can turn my gel press over and I can see exactly where I'm putting it. So I'm just taking my time and then I'm just going to press that down. Now if you want, you could just leave it like that and not press too much. Okay, so I can press a little bit more if I wish, like so. And if I want, I can turn it over as well and rub from the other side. But I don't want to make it too smooth, but I do want to rub a little bit. So I'm just going to rub over my card. And I'm not pressing on too hard, I'm just rubbing over gently. And then I'm going to turn that back around. And I can see sort of what I've got, and you can still continue to press even harder if you want. Okay, and then we'll lift this off. Just love the background, absolutely love the background. So can you see you've got a beautiful backdrop? Gorgeous. And what I'm going to do is take a scrap of card and I'm just going to place what's left. Let's move this out of the way a little bit. Just want the circle, so let's just place this on the background, just so I've got that circle. I'm not going to use that, but I'm just going to move my thing out of the way. And what I'm going to do, you could make another background, but what I'm going to do, because I need the size of the circle, so I'm just going to add a little bit of ink. Let me just add a little bit of ink around the edges, just so I can see the size of the circle. So just so that I can cut the circle out. Don't forget to braille your excess off onto a piece of card, because you don't want those oxides remaining on your braille. So I'm just doing this because I just want to see, I can't see the edge of the circle very well there. So I just want to see it a little bit more detailed, just so that I can see the edges of the circle. This is just so I can cut it out and for no other reason. I mean, that creates a lovely background as well, which I'll hold up. It proves how many backgrounds you can create. But can you see there's still stars in the background? Just lovely. So what I'm going to do is take my scissors. You could just keep that background if you wanted. I can't pick this up. Come on, Tracy, pick it up. There we go. And then we're going to, and you see, we're going to cut this out. Just cut the circle out. Probably better if you cut it out of thinner card than I've cut it out of, or maybe cut it out of scrap paper. This card may be a little bit too thick because it'll cause a ridge. So cut it out of scrap card if you can. That does cause a ridge. So that's a good idea for you to show where you can make mistakes. I'm a little bit concerned that that will cause a ridge because the card is so thick. Because I'm using 300 GSM. So I can use that for a background, that's no problem. But I think cutting it out of paper is going to be a little bit a better move on my part. So I'm just creating this circle and just doing it on scrap paper. Let me just brayer off the excess onto there. I never waste anything, so it's not a problem. But I am concerned that the problem with that is it's just too thick, the card is. I should have thought about that initially. So let's just cut the circle out of the paper. Paper's far better, or your masking sheets is just far better, because if I try to stamp through that circle, it's just going to have a ridge, which is going to cause me a problem. Because as you stamp on that ridge, you'll be left with a gap in your stamping, because there's a ridge on the card, because it's 300 GSM, so it's got like a lip. So I'm cutting out a scrap paper. Scrap paper is far better because it's got no depth to it. That's better, much better. So bring in my original background. So we've got this background, and look, you've still got that background where you just braided off and mopped up, which I'll use that for a Christmas card. So what I can do now is I can place this circle over my circular piece. So then, let me just, there it is. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my A4 Pinecone stamp set. I love this stamp set. And it's perfect for autumn makes, seasonal makes, it doesn't matter. It's perfect for both. And there's a bird on there that's neither autumn nor seasonal. There's leaves on there that's neither autumn nor seasonal. It can be all seasons. And that's what I want you to know about the stamp sets. Right, we've got this big stamp here. Let's find another acrylic block. Of course, if I want to find an acrylic block, I won't be able to, because all my A4 ones are at the bottom, which you would expect, wouldn't you? There we go. So I've got my A4 acrylic block, or if you've got the A5 acrylic block, then great. And what I want to do is I actually just want to ink some of the branch. I don't want the pine cone, I just want the branch. So I'm just thinking about what I want to ink up. Let me just, I haven't got enough room to ink anything up, to be generally honest. So let's move this up here, trying to keep everything in screen so that you can see everything. What a joke. There we go, much better with the paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Verdant Shady Lane and a little bit of Pinecone. It doesn't matter if you don't have all those colours, just use one colour, not a problem at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink the leaves and the branch, and I'm doing it all. Can you tell the concentration then? I'm doing it all in the green initially. This is the lightest colour. I'm starting with the lightest colour first, just to prevent contamination. So I'm starting with the lightest colour first, and I'm inking that branch. And I've done it with the lightest colour just so I can see what I've inked. That's the main reason. So I can visually see what I've actually inked. So then I'm going to keep moving this piece of paper, so you're just going to have to not get frustrated with me. I'm then going to use the Shady Lane, and I'm going to add little bits of darkness to the branch and berries. Just add a little bit of darkness. And then I'm going to take the pine cone and just add a little bit more darkness still, just with a little bit of the pine cone. Now what I want to do is I'm going to move this so that, let's make sure that, not that the bottom matters too much. And what I'm going to do is decide what I want, decide how much. So bring it up a bit. So I've inked more of the branch than I actually need. So let's go there, like so. And what I'm doing is I'm just allowing that ink just to sit on there. Now, with my placement of the branch, I didn't want to bring it too low down, just so that I've still got some space in that circle, just to add some more details. So I didn't want to come too low down. So just take my time, and I'm just allowing that ink to sit on there, just to give it time. And then I can lift this acrylic block just to make sure I've got all those areas. And then I'll just press lightly all around the berries where I inked, all around the leaves where I inked. And then we'll lift that. Just loving the colours. So let's just move that. And what you can see, just look at the subtlety of the colours. It doesn't detract from the purple. I've got a little bit of the branch going here. It doesn't detract from it too much. So just love that. It's just a subtle effect, but I just love it. And what you can do is take your scrap of paper, and if you want to add second generation of the branches, take your paper and just add some second generation of the branch. This will just give a second generation print just of some of those lines, just to add a little touch more, just so that you can see that. Just subtle. You don't have to add it here if you don't want. I just have, just to give a little bit of detail, that's all. But you don't have to if you don't wish. So what I'm going to do is place this back over, because I only want a little touch of that branch. So what I'm going to do, I'm just having a look whether I'm going to take the stamp off its acrylic block, like so. I'm just going to give everything a wipe, just to get rid of the excess ink. Then I'm going to use a piece of kitchen roll. And then what I'm going to do is just take the leaves again, just decide which leaf. I think it's going to be that one. So this leaf down here, I'm going to use the Verdant, then a little bit of the Shady Lane, not much, then a little touch of the brown, not too much, and I'm just going to use the stamp in my fingers, and I'm just going to add the leaf here, just so there's 3 leaves, just so that it adds 3 leaves. And what you're doing is you're going for subtlety. You're not going for too overpowering, because you don't want to cover all your detail up that you've got in the background. So I love that at the moment. Don't those leaves look lovely in 3 colours? They just look beautiful in 3 colours. And just a hint of the branches, just lovely. Let me just... Yes, let's... Oh, I'm being so pernickety now. So just take a little bit more of these branches. Again, using the 3 colours, or just maybe a little bit of the green, it's up to you. A little bit of the brown. And then what I'm going to do is just press those on there. There we go, just so it's a little bit more of the branches. Love it. Okay, so do I want to, let's bring this circle back in. Honestly, I could faff for England. I'm the world's worst faffer, I have to say. You know, I have got to be the worst. There we go. Beautiful. Just beautiful. Right, what I'm going to do now is, I've got these circles here, and I'm just going to add, which size do I want? That one. So you're going to want to know the size. So let's have a look at that. That is 2 1/4. So that circle is 2 1/4 inches. That circle is just here. So just deciding where I want it. Let's have it there, inside the circle. I need a little piece of, let's see if we've got some cut and dry foam that's in the right colours. Oh, we've got a piece of cut and dry foam that's got the greens here. Right, have we got one with blues? Yes, we have. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with the Twisted Citron, and I'm going to use a very light touch. So I'm starting with the Twisted Citron Distress Oxide ink, and I'm just going to add the Twisted Citron just around the circle. So I just cut this out, and I've just used the aperture. I often save these apertures, it's just what I do. So I've just used the Twisted Citron, and then what I'm going to do is use a little bit of the tumbled glass. So just pick up, what looks like I've used paint on that, it's a bit hard. I've got another piece. That's a bit softer. So take the tumbled glass, like so. Beautiful colour the tumbled glass is. Really lovely. Subtle but lovely. And what I love is, because I'm not pressing too hard, I can still see the background underneath, because I'm not pressing too hard. And then what I'm going to do is a little bit of cracked pistachio, only a little bit because it's a very, very strong colour. A little bit of the cracked pistachio. And then we can't forget that purple colour, which I seem to have lost. There it is, Shaded Lilac. Have we got a purple? We have. So use a bit of the purple. Let's look at the Shaded Lilac. So we've got the Shaded Lilac. And just add a little bit of the Shaded Lilac just around the bottom edge, just like so. We'll give that a little, no, we won't give it a splatter of water. Will I give it a splatter of water? No, I'm not, because I just like how it looks. Now, just so that you can see that, can you see how you can see the infusions underneath? Just beautiful. And I can still see the star there. Absolutely love it. I know, I'm a bit strange. So what I'm going to do is grab a HB pencil. Now, I'm well aware you could use your grey oxide ink, you could use your Inktense grey pencil, but what I'm trying to do is also offer different options if people haven't got certain things. So I'm using a HB, 2HB pencil. And I'm just going to add the HB pencil just here, just to give it a little bit of shading. And then what I'm going to do is just blend that out. Now, if you've got a pastel pencil, that'll blend a little bit easier. For me, the HB pencil is a bit, it's not giving enough of a contrast. But if that's all you've got, then you use that. But it's not giving me enough contrast. So I'm just going to use my Inktense pencil. But if you've got a pastel pencil, it's nice and soft and you can just smudge it. I have got pastel pencils, believe it or not. So just blend that out. Just to make it a little bit more 3D. Let me just have a look. A little bit more water. I always like to take my time on just the little touches. Just rubbing it out. There we go. Let me just take my kitchen roll, which I've now lost. Let's get rid of some of those, just so that we can add that. And then what I'm going to do is take my, I can use a Pitt pen or you can use a biro. It's entirely up to you. That's not my Pitt pens. Got that many pencil cases with different pens in. You can use a biro though, that's absolutely fine. So I've got my 05 micron pen, and I'm just going to add, just so that it just adds it to the decoration, just so that you can see in there. You can see that it's a bauble. And what I'm going to do is just take this circle again, add a little bit more blue to this. So a little bit more of the tumble glass. I love that bluey shade, especially with everything else. So just add a little bit more of the blue. Then I'll just spritz a little bit with water. Not much, just a little bit. and just allow that to react, just so that you can see. We just need that to dry a little bit. We will blot it, but there won't be much reaction. It's just spritz with water a little bit. We're doing everything subtly this time. So what I can see is I can see the stars in the background. Just works beautifully. So what I want to do now is, it's up to you which bird you add inside. I'm thinking about adding the blackbirds, but it's just making my mind up. You see, you could add, let's add, where are we? Trying to show you different options each time. You see, you could add part of a bird. I'm just showing you different options to what I'm doing, just so that you've got different ideas. So if you want, you can put the circle over. Let's just take this off. And you can add part of a bird in there as well, if you wish. Just to show you different options for you to make your different cards. So I'm going to place that back, and I'm going to get my blackbird. Let me just place that back. And I'm going to get my blackbird. There we go. I'm going to get my blackbird stamp because I just want the little birds in there. You could even have, this is why I like playing around with the acetate a little bit, because you can even have just the one bird. See, that looks quite nice as well. So take your bird off the packaging, and then just, so I think I'm going to add him into there. So let's just get a little A7 acrylic block. Yes, let's get more product out, just so that you've got it everywhere. I can't see these acrylic blocks because they're just all on top of each other. I can't tell which is A7, which is border, which is what. Of course, I can't find an A7 one, so we'll use a border one. So just take that. And we're going to stamp him in black. Just so he stands out nice and boldly. And I'm just making sure he's got plenty of ink on there. And I like taking my time over my cards. I don't need to put the circle back because I can fit him in. Make sure your card's straight so you know where you're going. And then just allow that ink to sit on there. You're stamping onto an oxide layer, which, because it's been spritzed lightly with water, it will oxidise. And because it oxidises and it's chalky, you just need to make sure that that ink sits on there for a few moments. Make sure you get his feet. I often forget to stamp and press on his feet. There we go. And what you get, because of that oxidisation, it's a little bit more subdued, the colour is. Just beautiful. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to blot that, just to make sure we don't make any messes. I'll just give that a blot. As you can see, a little bit of a layer of ink does come off, so just give that a blot, because I did add a big thick layer of oxides. Now if you're too frightened about stamping into the circle, you can always stamp in and cut it out. It's entirely up to you. Right, what I want to do now, did I leave it out? Probably didn't leave the stamp out that I actually wanted, but that's nothing new for Tracy. Let me see if we've got it somewhere. There we go. I tend to be using this little owl stamp for the little foliage quite a lot. So I'm using this hoot stamp, and I want to use this little stamp here. Shame I can't find my little A7 block. Well, I could if I had a little bit more patience. You could just stick it on your finger to be fair. So what I'm going to do is just place the circle back over, like so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Verdant archival ink. No, it's not archival, it's VersaFine Clair. Get your act together, Tracy. And I'm just going to stamp a couple of these little berries just on here. Just to make it a little bit more interesting. I'm going to take the Shady Lane and add the Shady Lane. If you add darker colours of colour, it just gives more depth to the design. Let's have a look what that looks like. There we go. Just so, let me show you, just so that you can see you've got a couple of those berries in there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a few berries up here. So I want the Verdant. Sorry, I'm moving everything out of the way so that I can. So I'm going to use the Verdant, and I'm going to add first generation and second generation. You can't see the second generation very much, so I just tested that, so I can stick to the first generation. So I will lift this up so that you can see. I'm just adding a little bit more detail, just with these little foliage pieces, just to add a little bit more interest. Let's add some of that Shady Lane, just to give a little darker colour. Just down sort of the stem and down a few bits here, just to give it a little bit more interest. Let me show you how I'm at. Whoops, let me show you how I'm adding that. Just so you can see I've got a little bit in there. And then I'll just add a couple with the brown. Just looks like we've thought about it then, if we're adding it in different colours. Just so it picks up the detail on the leaves. I've done a second generation one there, just so that you can see those. Right, what we're going to do then is just move that out of the way, and then I'm going to pick up a fine paintbrush. She says if she can find one. That looks pretty fine. I can't believe I found it so quickly. Oh, I've got such a heap of mess here, but then you're used to me, aren't you? So we've now got this. It can be your brushos or it can be your infusions. I've got infusions, and I'm just picking a tiny bit up, and I'm just going to add a little bit just to these like berries. I'm just going to colour a little bit of the colour, just to colour in these berries. And also, because you've got that purpley tinge in the background, just to bring that tinge of purple into the foreground in the berries, because then it looks like you've thought about it. It doesn't look like you've rushed your design. you've actually thought about what you're doing. So I'm just bringing in a little touch of that purpley colour. And it's only a subtle touch that you're bringing in, but it is worth it. So just bring in that subtle touch. Just take your time just to paint a few of those in. And make some of them darker than others. Again, it just looks more realistic. There's a couple there that I've not finished. There we go. Let's move this out of the way. Just so that you can see, I've added some touches of that purple. Right. What we're going to do now, I'm just going to place the circle back over. You're going to dip your brush into the infusions. Just make sure that you get the big blobs out. And then you're just going to add a little few splatters here and there just to your background. Not too much. Don't overpower it. Just to give it a little bit of detail. Of course, I just splatter it everywhere, which is just standard practice. What I'm going to do then is just give that a little dry with my heat tool. I don't need to dry it too much, but I do need to dry it a little bit. Plus that'll dry any inks that maybe need a little bit more. Just turn that over. Just if you remember to do the reverse as well, just to keep that flat. Just looks pretty without looking too much. Just looks nice. Just bend your card again if you've bent it out of shape. Right, I just need to move everything out of the way, just so I can see if I want to put my sentiment on. You don't have to put a sentiment on. You can just leave it blank so it's ready for the person that you're sending it to. So I'm going to add that there. So I'm going to stamp this in black so that it stamps and goes over everything. So I'm using my Nocturne. Like so. So I'm just going to decide where I'm stamping it. And I'm going to stamp it there. Now again, just let that ink sit on the card and just make sure that you press all the sentiment. It's only a small sentiment, so you don't have to press too hard, but you do need to press the whole area. There is beauty all around us. And I love how it makes you, it draws you through the card because you can see the leaves behind. So I absolutely love that. Right, what we're going to do now is grab, where is it? No, not Mica Flakes. dry glitter. So we're just going to a bit of dry glitter. Just to add a touch of sparkle. I don't like too much sparkle. I don't like it to overpower everything. It's just me. And obviously this will be difficult to see on camera, but in real life you'll be able to see it. Oh dear, I'm chucking everything on the floor. Right, just give that a blot, just to make sure that sentiment is not going to smudge. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a few dots of a quickie glue pen, just here and there, just to add a touch of sparkle. Now these are just dots I'm adding. I'm not adding anything too much. I don't want to go overboard. I just want it to have a little twinkle. So just take your time and add a few dots here and there, just so it adds a little bit of sparkle here and there, but doesn't detract from the background too much. So I think that's plenty. I just don't want to add too much sparkle and it just detracts away from everything. So just put the quickie glue pen back. And what we're going to do is then take the dry glitter. Hopefully those will have all dried. Let's make sure I can't see any blue. I don't think I can. And then what I'm going to do is add the glitter all the way around the card. Do you know that glitter feels quite heavy when it's on the card? And what I've got is I've got a shimmy. Oh, you can see it there on the card. Just a touch of shimmy. Because when the recipient receives it, it'll just sparkle for them. And it just adds another little touch. Let's put that away. So I think we can see, where else have we got the sparkle? We can just, if you can just see a little twinkle. Let me just see if I can. It's very difficult to pick up. Oh, I can see a bit there. Very difficult to pick up the twinkle in the camera, but it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. Right, let's grab a little bit of twine. So I'm going to use a little bit of black twine just to bring out the black in the Blackbird. Nothing too much, just a little bit. So, and this is a reasonably thin twine, so it's not going to overpower my project because it's quite a thin twine. And I'm not going for a big bow, I'm going for quite a small bow. Just to add. Do you know, I spend more time faffing with a bow than I do anything else. So just grab my adhesive. Like so. Just place that on there. Now you could, if you wish, you could put a little berry on. I don't want to do every card the same. I want each card to look a little bit different. I don't want every one of them to look exactly the same. So I'm not going to add a berry to this one. Just going to add some white splatters. Nothing too overpowering, just a few white splatters. Let me show you that. A few white splatters here and there just to add to the design. Don't want to add too much. If you want to add your mica flakes and everything, that's absolutely fine. Let me just add another little detail as what we want to add. And each time it's just thinking about the finishing touches. That's all you need to do, is think about the finishing touches. So I'm going to add a little touch of white gel pen here and here, just as if it's got some shine. You need to make sure that everything is dry. When you're using gel pens, like my white gel pen, you do need to make sure it's dry. Every time I want to use a Posca pen, it's not quite flowing. Where's my big one? That's better. Just add a little bit of white, just so that you can see that. I absolutely love it. So what we're going to do now is we need to mat and layer it. I've got that many stamp sets out. Let me just put this away. Just so that I've got a bit of room, because there physically is no room. And what I'm going to do is just bring out that green a little bit more. So let's get our... I did have a blending tool that had got the green on. Let me just double check. There we go. Take a little bit of the green. Let's use the VersaFine Clair because it's very citrusy green. So use that, and let's use that mat. So the card was 6.5 inches square, and I've made the mat 1/4 inch bigger. So this is 6 3/4. So just add that. Just picking some bits up off my blending tool. Where's my kitchen roll? How'd you lose a piece of kitchen roll? Let's just get rid of all those bits. There we go. And what you need to do is just clean up this ink, because it's going to just make your card a mess. Make sure your fingers are clean. And then what I'm going to do is place this on here, just so it gives a nice pop of colour. Just makes it a beautiful pop of colour. There we go. Let's add that there. I always stand up because I just find it a little bit easier just to see where I'm putting my mat and layer. Let's find a clean piece of paper, and then I'm going to add that to a 7 by 7 inch card blank. So just add that to a 7 by 7 inch card blank. Make sure you've got your card the right way up. There's nothing worse than making an upside down card. The white and the citrus of the green really make everything pop. Just so you can see that. Really pleased with how that's come out, I must admit. Love how that's come out. and I can still see the stars in the background. I can still see some stars in the background, and I just love that. And then what I've got is I've got another 6 3/4. Let me just double check for you. Yes, I've got a 6 3/4 inch square piece of card. Okay, and then what we're going to do, this is your inside of your card. What you're going to do is just take whatever ink is left on your cut and dry foam, your ink blending tools, whatever ink is left on there, you're going to take that and you're going to add a little bit of colour just to your circle. Let's add a little bit of purple. I think we need a little bit more purple. Try not to move it. A little bit more purple. There we go. A little bit more blue. Bit more of the tumbled glass just to blend everything. There we go. Just have a piece of kitchen roll just to dust everything off. And then I put that Blackbird away when we shouldn't have done. Take our little Blackbird again. You shouldn't work over your card like I do, because that's how you make mistakes. You can drop things on your card and you can make marks, so make sure that you're working away from your actual physical card. So just add that here, like so. Just let the ink settle in there. There we go. Then I'm going to take the sentiment stamp, again from the Acorn stamp set. Echo that sentiment in here, because it's nice to put an insert in. Just looks like it's professionally finished. Just place that there. Let's just give that a blot, just to make sure we're not going to get in a mess. I'm just going to take my, where's the lid on the glue? Just going to take my Inktense pencil and just add a little bit of shading just around here. Just blend it out. Just blend that out. Then we'll take our white gel pen, see if it'll work. Just place a couple of little markers there, so it's a little bit of a shine. Then that becomes your insert to your card, and we'll place that on the inside. Let's make sure that we've got that clean piece of card. Let's place this on the inside. just lift this up, place this. The problem is I can't see now because it's got a white background, which is not good, Tracy. There we go. Make sure you've got a clean finger just to add that. And then you've got your insert to your card, and then you've got your original card. And I'll just leave that there for a few moments just so that you can just view that. And don't forget, at the end of all that, which I can't find now, you have got that background as well that you can use for another card, which I will definitely use for another card. So I hope you enjoyed that. I really enjoyed creating that, and now I've got another seasonal card that I think is beautiful. So have a lovely week, everybody. Thank you for your amazing support, and I'll see you all soon. Love to all. Bye for now.